Okay, I was like, I saw you dancing.
I was
Samantha
getting
was
ready.
dancing, y'all. She was getting ready.
I was getting ready for the recorded.
I'm like, has it started recording?
And I'm just doing my dance, just getting in the
Yeah.
vibe. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes, vibes.
Hey, Jason.
Hello, Samantha Tuozzolo. Hello,
Hello,
survivors.
listeners. Oh, man,
Yes.
I wish I was in unison with you.
Oh, it's okay. You said
Damn.
listeners. I said survivors. It's all right.
Yes.
Survivors. Our survivors out there.
We're silly
Welcome.
today. We're silly today.
We are silly. We had a good weekend. I think, I think we've been having a tough couple weeks in general, and I feel like we needed a reset. This, at least I did. I'm not going to speak for you, but
No, you're
I needed a
right.
little reset. And
Yeah.
you know, so yes, welcome to Survivor Jobs, a podcast in collaboration with BroadwayWorld.
Hey.
Hey,
Happy June. This is coming out and it's going to be June, which is
it's
makes
Pride Month.
no sense. Happy Pride Month. Happy June.
Yes,
The Tonys are happening. A lot's happening in June.
yes, a lot is happening in
June
June.
is busting out all over. Do you get it, Jason?
Yes, yes,
Thank you.
yes. Yeah. So, what I was gonna say was, we saw some theater.
We did see some
You
theater.
saw more theater than me, but I saw a little bit of theater.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's why I'm just feeling, a
Good.
little recharged, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the good thing about theater, man. The arts
Brings us
really,
back.
really are lifesavers.
Truly. Truly is.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we both saw Take Me Out. What'd you think?
I so okay. Um, I didn't know much about this play
Oh,
before I got it, before I bought a ticket. I remember it was a revival. I knew about it was about baseball, and I knew it was about I knew the basics that it was about a black man that comes out as gay. And that's why I got it. I was like, oh, I'm going to see the play. I'm going to see support an LGBTQ story. I love Jesse Williams, so I didn't
me
know much about it, and
too.
I didn't want to know. I didn't really want to know, too much about it. So I was pleasantly surprised at the story. It was shocking. I'm not talking about the nudity. The nudity is one thing, right? But the play is shocking. Like I wasn't expecting. I just wasn't expecting a lot. I was in the second row, and it gets very intense. I wasn't expecting
It
it to
is
get so
so
intense and so
intense.
dark. So there was a lot of audible gasps from me and other people in the audience, and
Yeah.
I'm a very vocal person when I see a show, but I was in the second row, so I was like trying to like be like, Jason, bring it down, bring it
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, because you don't want your like reactions to get to the actors and
But it
the
was so
distractions.
shocking. It was
Yeah,
shocking.
it
The
is
end
a
of Act
shocking.
One, I had no idea that was gonna happen. So I was just
Mm,
like, mouth was on the ground. Anyway,
yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
think?
I thought I yeah, the same. I really didn't know much about it. Shout out to Mike Heslin, our former guest. He was in
Yeah.
town and he was like, I really want to go see this show. Like, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, I'll go. I love going to theater. But I didn't
Hmm.
know much about it either. And it was shocking. Yeah, shocking play, but like so well acted. The acting was phenomenal. Shout out to Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who
Oh yeah.
really, really blew me away.
The acting was phenomenal. Like, and,
Phenom.
and and obviously it's Broadway, right? So the acting needs to be phenomenal. But I
Sometimes,
think,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, well, just
well,
kidding,
well, the
everyone.
expectation is there for it to be
Yeah,
phenomenal, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think, for example, Jesse Williams, he had this inner kind of like inner turmoil that you were seeing, and that was like kind of cracking as the play went on, but like it never fully cracked, which I thought was so beautiful to watch. And you had like Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who was just like, he's him, right? He's him, but he was still a different character. Like I forgot I was watching him, right? But like he still had his Jesse Tyler Ferguson nuances there, right? But it was still a
Yeah.
different person. And the racist dude, holy shit. Which I want to say his name, so I have my playbill. But go
Get
ahead when I
his
look up
name.
his name.
Yeah, yeah. That scene in Act Two, like not to give any
Mm,
spoilers to anyone, the scene in Act Two in the interrogation room, I guess is what you would say
yes,
when it's
yes.
Jesse Tyler Ferguson is not there. He is not in that scene. Um, that the levels, the build up, you feel sorry for the guy What's his name?
Michael Oberholzer, right? He's Shane, right? From my
Shane.
memory.
Yes,
Shane,
you
yeah.
feel sorry for Shane, and to feel sorry for a character that's that horrible. I don't want to say he's horrible, but he is horrible. But then you're like, is it his fault? Or there's like these levels of people in the world that like don't know any better, or is that an excuse? But that scene in Act 2, y'all, there's a scene in Act 2. I can't speak words today. I want to tell
Y'all gotta
everyone.
get tickets to see this play. I don't know. I know if the tickets have gone up and like are selling out because of the whole nudity scandal. But y'all, I was telling people it's a really great play.
Yeah.
And I also was like, oh, do we really need a play with like all men in it? Like originally, I was like, come on, it's like 2022. We need more women. Like we need more female stories. But I was like, whatever. Like I still want to see it. But I'm so happy I did. I'm so happy I saw that play. I was so moved and so inspired to create. Like, that's the great thing about art is like you feel so good after.
I love when you're gassed up, Jason. I love when you're gassed up. You know what's funny? Theater, right?
Yeah, seeing a good play. Like I was literally like I was like, I'm gonna read a play. I'm gonna audition tomorrow. I don't know what to audition for, but I'm getting something.
Wait, I did the same thing. I literally reached out to my old acting coach and was like, hey, I need to do some work. Wait, so you know what you just said? You said, do we need to play with all men? I didn't actually realize this, but it's directly across from POTUS, which is so fun because there's a play with all women and then a play with all men. That's kind of dope. I love that.
Yeah.
I do love that.
But we need more women. More women in everything. More women in government, more women in theater, more women in film. Like we need more women everywhere.
Clapping. Snaps to that. So go get tickets to take me out. I also saw American Buffalo yesterday with my mother. Mm-hmm. So I feel like David Mamet's plays nothing. There's not. Shout out to Dawn. Nothing ever really. Like everything happens, but there's no like big thing that happens. There's no like big like plot. They're just like life. You're just looking at people, and I really enjoyed that. My Bob was like, "What happened?" And I'm like, "It's just life, you know. It's just a normal day and a normal in these people's lives." That play was so beautifully directed and well acted, and it's so tight. And I mean, and when I say tight, I mean it's like it's so good and tight. Like everything is good.
Yeah.
Am I speaking words today? This is you guys. So go see American Buffalo as well. It's also in the round, not in the round. It's in the U. So you're like so intimate with these actors, these really, really incredible actors.
Lawrence Fishburne, Darren
Criss, Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell, right?
Yeah, and so you're
heavy hitters are on Broadway this season.
Yeah. And you're just like on them. You're like on these actors, and it was really great. And the set and the props in the American Buffalo is so detailed and incredible. I literally was watching this. I was like, damn, the crew, the cleanup, the reset of the stage. There's so many moving parts to this set. And by moving parts, I mean like little props, but like so many. And I was thinking like, wow, does every single prop have to go back to where it was, which it does, right? Because that's obvious. And I'm like, that is a lot of work. So shout out to the crew and stage management and prop masters on American Buffalo, because that was crazy. So in conclusion, everyone, go see all the plays. I love a musical, but I've been really trying to drown in plays.
Yeah. And I feel bad because I didn't see American Buffalo yet. Hopefully I'll get to see it. But yes, the whole cast of going back to really quickly, Take Me Out, like all the actors were great. I just wanted to make sure like that was very clear. Like there were like everyone up there, like no matter like how big or small the part was like incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And also like shout out to all those actors. Like you're in a very vulnerable state to be naked.
Could
like
you do that?
Could I?
Yeah.
I don't know. Depends.
I don't know either. I was thinking about it after. I'm like, that's very hard to be so vulnerable and like
and still do your work and not be insecure about your body, right?
And I guess if you're
they're
like,
all so super hot. Every single one of them so super
I guess
hot.
if you're very physically fit, that might be a different kind of situation. Wow.
Go
see it.
Go see
American Buffalo.
Go support live theater.
Yeah, I know theater's expensive, y'all, but if you can, you should try to support it and go out and see it and there's so many people, like, we're going to talk to Gabby. We're going to talk to Gabby Bean today. Or we talked to her already. Excuse me. We just recorded it. But, like, these are working actors. They're not just, not everybody is a star, right? But these are other people who are working professional actors who deserve to be seen and see if their art shared, So, I don't know. That's my little on my soapbox, I guess, to tell
God,
people.
I love you, Jay. Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, before we talk about Gabby Beans, I want to shout out to Gabby French from Hangman, who is a past guest. So go see Hangman. Jason and I are going to try to get our butts over there.
Yeah.
Go see it. We got to meet her last night IRL. In person, and she is just a gem and such a good person and so talented. And so shout out to her and Hangman, and go support live theater, y'all. Hangman, I believe, has another month before they close.
Yeah, I think the city said June 18th.
Yeah.
So go see it. Go support it.
Yeah, go support it. So just to jump into our guest today, we spoke to, right before this, Gabby Beans, who is nominated for a Tony Award, y'all. And her show closed yesterday, and she shared space with us today, which I think is so cool. Typically I would feel like an actor who just did this huge run for this like beast of a show, it's 3-hour long play, like would be like, I'm just closing my show, like I need a beat. She was like, nope, I'm here, I'm ready, let's talk, let's do the thing. She's amazing.
She just gave so much, so much. I'm like, how are you so focused and so open and so generous with your time after closing a show on Broadway like yesterday?
Yeah.
I don't know. I love people like that. And I think we've been so fortunate. Yeah. We've been so fortunate to get to meet and talk to all these really like beautiful spirits, going back to Anastasia, right? Like, how wonderful and how fortunate are we to be able to share space with these people?
Right. And I feel like we learned so much from our guests as well.
I was taking notes, girl. I'm like, well, I'm taking mental notes. You're not going to be typing but I'm like, oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
What's happening next? Yes.
Yes, yes.
Anyway, should we do a bio?
I'll kick it off.
Yes, please.
Just kidding. Gabby Beans is an actor, writer, and filmmaker based in the great city of New York. She completed her BA at Columbia University, double majoring in neuroscience and theater, and master's in classical acting from the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art.
Yes, Lambda. Mm-hmm.
Some of her recent TV credits include HBO's Succession, CBS, The Good Fight, Netflix, House of Cards, and Showtime's Ray Donovan.
Yep. Some of her past theater credits include Anatomy of a Suicide at the Atlantic Theater Company, Mary Seacole at LCT3 Lincoln Center Theater, Girls at Yale Repertory Theater, and The Wolves, which she received the Helen Hayes Award for Outstanding Ensemble in a Play at Studio Theater in DC. Wow. She recently played Sabina in Lincoln Center Theater's Broadway revival of The Skin of Our Teeth, for which she received a nomination for the Drama League's Distinguished Performance Award and a Tony Award nomination.
Tony Award nomination.
Wow.
What did I just do? How incredible is that? Yeah, it is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys enjoy Gabby.
Get a notepad. If you're driving, pull over, get a notepad. You want to take these notes, listen to her.
Yeah.
She has some good freaking nuggets of wisdom that you need to like
nuggets.
Incorporate.
Yeah, get those nuggets. Wait, Jason, before we let everyone listen to her episode, can you do the housekeeping?
Yes. Yes. So if you would like to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, we would love that. Reviews help us
love it
more people to see our, get to hear our podcast, right? So anywhere you listen to it, whether Apple Podcasts or Spotify or, Podbean, feel free to leave us a review. 5 stars if you can.
If you think we deserve it.
Yeah. But if you don't, just drop 5 stars. Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, come on. It's June. Happy
Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month. Boom. Okay, guys, enjoy Gabby. Hi, Gabby.
Hello.
How
are you? You know what? I'm living, I'm laughing, and I'm loving.
Hey, that's all we can do sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So happy Memorial Day. We're recording this on Memorial Day.
Indeed.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you for coming onto the show and sharing space with us. We're so happy to have you. Also, your show just closed last night.
It sure did.
And here we are all together the next day.
And you still got up for us. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I mean it was obviously, you know, closing a show is always like very bittersweet, and it was nice to have this, you know what I mean, to have something to jump into right the next day. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thank you.
Did you guys do anything for closing? Did you guys have like a little closing party?
We did. I mean, there was a lot of like doing a show during COVID times is its own special experience of life. And I think it was just beautiful. You know, we had a lot of people out because of COVID, and it was a huge blessing that we were able to close the show with our complete company.
Oh, that's amazing.
So everyone was feeling really excited and celebratory. We did a little toast in the lobby of the Vivian Beaumont Theater where we did the show. And then afterwards we went to the pier on right off of 64th Street, right by the Hudson, and just ate burgers and hung out, and it was really, really nice.
That's amazing.
That's so nice. I actually just started running on that path on the pier uptown. So beautiful.
It's so beautiful. I'd never been there before. Usually I'm just like on the West Side Highway going downtown, going past all those big buildings, and I never knew that there was this gorgeous park down there.
Yeah, it's like a little kept secret, I think, because and then there's like little cafes and tables. I'm like, well, who knew?
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. It's a vibe. I was like, well, you know, when you work at Lincoln Center, you don't really want to leave because it's like, wow, like the plaza, all the art. Wow, here we are. We're artists. And then I was like, had we known that beautiful park was there, we could have done more outdoor hangs. So, you know, best, you know things when you're supposed to know them, I guess.
Exactly. Just in time for the summer. Now you have some time off to go read a book, do whatever. Have some wine.
Absolutely.
Whatever the vibe is.
Whatever the vibe is.
You want to kick it off, Jay?
Well, I was going to say, I want to start with a little temperature check, but she said, Gabby, you said you're living, you're laughing, you're loving. So I love that personally.
It's true.
Because it's such great. Yeah, I was going to say, it's just like a weird time in our country. And then also with the show closing, but you have this incredible honor, I'm gonna say, of the Tony nomination. So I just wanted to check in and see how you were feeling and how you were taking that all in general.
You know, so I mean, I feel so grateful and so honored. I never like this whole experience of doing the Skin of Our Teeth has been a embarrassment of riches in terms of my experience. When I auditioned for the show, I didn't think I would. I didn't think in a million years I would get it because it's such a big part. It's such an incredible part. And I was like, there's no way that they're going to like cast someone who's not famous in this role. And then getting the role was like incredible. And then waiting to see if we would actually be able to do the production because, you know, the COVID of it all, you don't really know if things will go through. And then being able to do the rehearsals, getting through previews, getting to open the show, that in and of itself would have been the biggest blessing of my creative life. And then on top of that, to be recognized by the community, it's all gravy, you know?
It's all gravy. What did you say to kick this off? You said it was an embarrassment of riches. I love that. It's like everything happening. I imagine you're like, wait, what? Sometimes it's like such an outer body experience when you think about things happening and success in your art, and then it happens. You're like, wait, where am I? I feel like that sometimes. I'm like, wait, what happened? Like it makes no sense.
Yeah, and it's a little bit incomprehensible, but it's also like really delicious and enjoyable just to go along for the ride and to accept what's coming to you. And I think as actors, like we are uniquely positioned in life to make friends with like the mystery and the unknowing of it all. And and when these kinds of things come up, it's just Like, you just have to enjoy it, and you have to not take it too seriously, but just go along for the ride.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of that. So I do just want to jump in. So you just closed the show. You're having this great success. You're going to the Tonys as a nominee, but we imagine that we weren't always here at this point. So do you have a survival job that got you here that you could share a story from, or a job that has positively impacted where you're at right now in your career?
So I have had so many jobs. I have had so many survival jobs. So just to begin with, when I first got out of grad school, I got my, when I was in grad school, so I went to grad school for acting right after undergrad, which meant that I didn't know anything about life. And so in grad school, I remember, I knew I wanted to come back to New York. I went to grad school in London. And I always knew New York was where it was supposed to be. And I was like, you know what? So just a little bit about me. I didn't study acting in undergrad. I studied neuroscience and theater. I was a double major, but like really my path that I was pursuing with great intensity was the path of going to medical school, becoming a psychiatrist, and doing psychiatric research. So I worked in a lab for 3 years in college. I was pre-med, and I did a lot of student theater, and that was clearly where my passion was. But I felt a lot of filial duty. I was like, listen, I gotta get a serious job. And and then in my senior year, I was kind of like, I don't know if I can actually like, basically I had this awareness that I could either white knuckle it through the whole medical thing, or I could actually try to do what I wanted to do, which was act. So instead of going to med school, I applied to grad school, luckily got into Lambda, went to Lambda, boom. So at Lambda, I'm like, okay, I'm going back to New York. Your girl's not gonna wait tables. For some reason, I had this weird ego around. Like, I was like, I don't want to be that New York City actor.
Yeah.
And I will say right now, I was foolish, and that was a lot of ego and a lot of inexperience. Of course, the first survival job I have that I am so grateful for, because who knows what else I would have been doing otherwise, was working in my classmate's sister's restaurant. And so I was able to serve at her restaurant, and it's actually really hard sometimes to get a good New York City serving job because it's competitive out here. And so I was really thankful for that, because I learned like how to do that job, how to be in hospitality, whatever. And then right out of grad school, I had like 5 jobs. Like, I was doing that. I was waiting tables at this place in Harlem called Row House. I was tutoring the SAT, so I was helping high school students prepare for their SATs. I was doing freelance video editing for my friend who had a podcast and would pay me a little bit here and there to like help do video editing for the video content for his comic book website. I was like the door person at my friend William's art gallery, because my friend William was the events person at this art gallery called the 8th Floor. And so I would be the person with the clipboard being like, are you on the list?
That's
fun. God, you sound like me.
Yeah. That's like Jason's main survival job.
So that being the door guardian. I was like, I did catering. I worked for this catering company, and I bartended. I've done it all. So where do you want to start? Which job do you want to talk about? You want to talk about my best survival job? My worst survival job?
Let's start with your best, or like one that like sits in a good place in your heart that you think has like brought you to where you are in some way, if that makes any sense.
Oh no, I know what you mean. And that job, so like I said, got into serving, was waiting tables, and I always have been a big fan of cocktail culture. Like I've loved, I don't really drink too much anymore, but I really enjoy like the artistry of really great New York City bartenders. Like there's just
it's an art.
It is truly an art form, and the folks who work in really good cocktail bars in the city are artists. Like they train for years and years, and they're incredible. And I had always been a fan of that. And I applied. So when I left my first serving job, I was working at this other. Oh, this is funny. I worked at this place called Spin, and Spin is this place in Flatiron that's a ping pong bar
I know
slash
this bar.
yeah slash club slash event space.
Doesn't somebody famous own this?
Susan Sarandon used to own it.
Oh yeah.
And I actually have a really funny story about that maybe we can get to later. But I was working there after working at Row House, and at first the money was incredible, and literally all I had to do was walk around with a tray and like give hors d'oeuvres. So it was an insane job. Like, I remember there was this one time when there was this bar mitzvah, and watching 70 13-year-olds sing Mask Off by Future.
Oh my god.
Socks on and no shoes. I was like, the world is wide. So that job ran its course, and I was like, I want to get a serving job where I can work 3 days a week, make enough money to feel comfortable, and actually like be providing a service that I am passionate about. And so I applied to work at this place called Rain's Law Room at the William Hotel, which is a really, really incredible cocktail bar in Midtown. And luckily, Megan Dorman, who's the bar director there, decided to take me on. And that was my job, my like main job for like 3 years.
Shout out to her.
And it was fantastic. Like, the bartenders are so knowledgeable. I learned so much about different spirits, about the art of cocktail making. And it was really great money. It was really late hours. You know, you're working like 4 to 4 sometimes. But it was a job where I put in my 3 days and I was good, and I didn't have to do anything else. And that really allowed me to get serious about acting and to audition and to pursue my craft and be able to take classes and have a little bit more flexibility financially to be able to make the moves I needed to make. So I'm so grateful for that job. And I really, I really loved it.
That sounds incredible. And to have that opportunity to like, okay, I'm going to work these 3 days. I'm going to be good. And I can devote my time to working on it, right? To working on what you're there to do. That's incredible. Not everyone has that luxury. So that's really awesome.
Oftentimes I feel like actors get so like stuck in their survival jobs and consumed by them that they lose what they're meant, like what their intention is. Thank you, Jason. I couldn't speak words.
Yeah, I mean, here, like, let's just put it out there. Like, New York is so expensive. It is difficult. It is like the barrier to entry of having like just an okay material existence is so much higher than many other places in the world, let alone the States. And so when you're coming here to be an artist, it is actually like, you know, when I speak to students or whatever, one thing I tell them is find a survival job that you don't hate and that will make sure that you cover your bases. Now, that's easier said than done, but it is possible, and it might take a little bit of time. Like, getting that job, I wouldn't have been able to get that job if I hadn't had previous serving experience other places and felt really like a strong server. Which those outside of the hospitality industry might be like, what? Like, what do you mean a strong server? But it's actually like you know, like the job I was working was 3 different rooms, and you have to be good at that. You have to be good at like putting on a smiley face for really demanding people for like 10 hours and knowing every component of every cocktail. Like, it is a skill. And I will say also, like, I really benefited from having, you know, Megan Dorman, who I mentioned, who gave me the job, to this day comes to see me in shows. She is an incredible person. And like, if you can find someone who respects the arts and respects artists, because we all know that like probably one of the main employment demographics of the hospitality industry in New York is artists. And if you can find someone who actually respects art and who understands that you will be there to do your job, but that your passion is something else and who will foster that passion, then
Yeah.
you will have such an easier time of it. Because I knew I could always come to her. I could always come to my managers and say, look, like, I have a really important audition tomorrow. Can we try to switch my shift up? Or I need to leave early tonight. Like, I could go to my bartenders and go to my my coworkers and be like, can one of y'all just watch the floor for the last 2 hours of the shift so I can go home and do this audition? And I had that. And that is, I'm all of those folks are like a huge reason why I'm able to be a working actor now.
I love that. Incredible. Let's flip it. Let's flip it and reverse it. Do you have one job that you absolutely hated that you were like, I'm never going back to this ever again, no matter what happens?
Let's see. Nothing is jumping to mind, which is great.
Oh, that is good.
What I would say is like the first restaurant I worked in, that was a hard experience only because it was because of a lot of environmental things and not so much because of the management or the place. For instance, I live in Bushwick. I have lived in Bushwick for 6 years. I was living here in my same apartment that I live in now, and I was commuting to Harlem. And so when you finish the dinner shift on Friday at 3 a.m., take the A train to Broadway Junction, switch to the J, get home around 4:30, then have to wake up around 7 to go in for brunch the next day.
No.
You're not gonna enjoy your life too much.
No. And also those trains are not running like correct at that hour.
1000%. And I would say that was a scenario in which, here's another little nuance that I noticed working in the hospitality industry. You will have, it helps in the hospitality industry to like food and to like drinks and to have an interest in it.
Yes.
Part A. Part B. There are people who get into opening bars and restaurants as a business, and there are people who get into opening bars and restaurants as a business and also because they have a strong passion for the product that they're providing. It is a lot harder to work at a place where the product and the experience are not at the forefront of what you are doing as a teammate of that establishment. So what I mean by that is when you're trying to upsell someone and you know that like what you're upselling isn't actually that much of an upsell, when you're there to purely make money for the business and you're not actually feeling fully invested in the experience you're providing, that's hard on your soul. Because if you're like me, like I try to be an integrous person, I don't feel right, like, trying to get as much money, extract as much money from people on an experience that I don't fully believe in. And so that was kind of hard about that job. It's like, it's a demanding job and you don't really fully like feel great about the experience providing. So that's what I love about working. I also worked at this bar called Patent Pending, who my friend Alec runs. And when you work at places that at the forefront, like they're trying to do something really cool and that everyone there actually really cares about what they're doing and feels passionate about it, and that's their vocation, it's so much easier to work in that environment. So that's why the first restaurant I worked at wasn't the best experience, because it was really tough, experientially. And then also I was like, I don't know if this is a spot where people feel like passionate about what they're doing.
Yeah. Wow.
That's really awesome that you like had that and recognized that, because I feel like a lot of people don't. And while you were speaking, I was thinking, I read Kathy Griffin's autobiography years ago, and in her autobiography, she says something like, no matter what I did, I was the best. I made sure I was the best at it, whether I was a server, whether I was a host, whatever, I made sure to like love it and be the best at it. And then that's reflective of then her work and her career now, right? And so that sort of reminded me of that. Like, you weren't passionate about that. So you needed to find something that felt good, not just to do it to survive, but also to feel good, because we only have one life.
Absolutely. I think I don't know who said this, but I'm a big proponent of the idea of how you do anything is how you do everything. And
Yeah.
even at that job, I still was doing my best, but you can feel an inner resistance where you're at a place that's really not aligned with your values as a person. And I think that is another trap that a lot of actors get stuck in, because this is a tough town, and you might be in a scenario where you're like, I don't think that my worldview and my values and how I want to walk through the world is coherent with this place where I'm spending so much of my time and energy. And even if you don't understand it on a conscious level, you feel it. Like when you wake up in the morning and you dread going wherever you have to go, I feel like that's a really clear symbol and like symptom of you need to switch it up, because you can't keep on eroding your soul in that way. Because that's when people get jaded and bitter and sad.
Yeah, and then how can you, if you're feeling that way, how can you go back to your art, right? How can you like find these compassionate characters to bring to life in auditions and whatnot? It's like, it's tough.
Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure. So I want to take it back a little bit to your early years of life. Do you have a memory of what the first moment was when you were like, I want to act? Like, was there something that inspired you, or somebody you looked up to? What was that for you?
I always loved acting a fool in front of others. I can't vouch for this, but it feels like since I, popped off on this planet, I've always been trying to like, tell jokes, be silly, and do performances. So from like the earliest of early times, I was doing plays for my family. I was doing performances. I was imitating movies. And, my parents didn't know what they were doing, but they would always encourage that. They would always be like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's so cute.
Yeah.
And my mom, the wonderful woman that she was, put me, or that she is, she's still with us, thank God. She put me in dance classes really early on. So that was like my first taste of really performing for an audience, doing dance recitals and stuff like that. And then around 6th grade, for whatever reason, I don't know what it was, but I was like, I think I want to be an actor. And I shared that with my parents, and they were like, that's cute, but no.
That's cute.
No. So I was like, all right, they're not down for that. So maybe we do something else. But I always knew that this is where I was going to end up. And I always knew that everything else was kind of like, I'll show you that I'm giving it this other stuff its fair shake, but I know where I'm supposed to be. And then, my mom, used to practice medicine. She used to be a doctor. She had to stop because she fell ill. But before she fell ill, she would go on medical conferences, and she would take us with her. And one of the ones that I remember the most was when she had one in New York, and she, as a treat to our family, took us to a bunch of Broadway shows. So we went and saw Into the Woods. We saw Oklahoma. We saw The Lion King. I think we saw Beauty and the Beast too. And I was just like, this is everything. Like, this is just it. And yeah, it totally shifted. It like changed my DNA. I don't know. I was just like, this is where I gotta go. And then in high school, like I did school plays and stuff. And I had this really incredible drama teacher named Joe Riley, who is just an incredible scholar and artist in her own right. And she would just have us engaging with this really incredible stuff. Like, she had us reading Sarah Kane in high school. I went to high school in Germany, and she would organize like theater trips to London. So we would go, like, the school would pay for us to go to London, and we went to see shows at the National Theater. So I saw Fiona Shaw do Mother Courage, and I saw incredible physical theater and all this like awesome stuff. So I had a lot of really beautiful formative experiences that made me deeply fall in love with the theater.
That's amazing. And I'm so happy that your parents cultivated that for you.
Yeah. I mean, they did cultivate it.
Yeah.
But then they weren't happy with what they cultivated.
Yeah. Oh,
hopefully
yeah.
now they're like, okay.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think now they're probably like,
yeah.
My dad's on board. Mom's still working on it. She's still kind of like, you could always go to medical school. And I'm like, you know what? That is accurate. I could always go to medical school.
But Mom, I'm also nominated for a Tony. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it will have to be. I think I'll have to meet Russell Crowe for her to like care, because Russell Crowe is her celebrity crush. You know, like when I was a kid, we would watch Gladiator all the time. I'm like, why does Mom like watching Gladiator so much?
Because she loves Russell Crowe.
And then I was like, oh, I know why Mom likes watching Gladiator.
Yeah, we'll just have to get you an acting gig with Russell Crowe, and then she'll sign on.
We're gonna manifest.
Or I could just accost him if I see him somewhere and be like, dude, please do this for me. Yeah.
No. Okay, I have a two-part question, because we have a lot of younger people who listen to our podcast, a lot of artists that are or actors that are just starting out. Can you just describe the audition process for Skin of Our Teeth, and do you have any like audition rituals that you do?
Ooh, audition rituals, do I?
Yeah.
Well, the audition for Skin of Our Teeth came through my agent. You get an email, and at that time, they were doing the auditions on Zoom. So I got the material, I got the play, and I read the play, and I was like, what is this? Because it was a crazy play. But I saw the part, and I was like, this part. Say what?
Is that a lot of time traveling, right? Or like
it's less time traveling and more like time is collapsed into this kind of liminal moment where it's both 1950s to 1920s America / the Ice Age / the Civil War. The play was it was like an anthology TV show. Like each act kind of takes place in a different temporal moment in American history, but was also chronicling these like prehistoric moments of environmental and social collapse. But it's also a comedy, so you can imagine reading that. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? But yeah, like, so it's less of a ritual for me. I don't have any like, well, maybe I do, but the main thing that I think that I've learned in auditioning is like I've learned how to prepare so that I feel good in the room. And what that means for me is like it's for a play, reading the play as many times as possible as before I get in the room. The whole play. Because I find that when you start just reading the sides, you can get locked into half-baked ideas about who the character is and what their function in the story is. So reading the play a bunch of times means that you get a more longitudinal view of like who that person is and also what the authorial intent is. And then after I read the play a bunch, I like look over the sides and I just work kind of intuitively and figure out like how does this fit on me? Who do I know? Who have I seen that excites me, that kind of will offer a way in to this person? And I'm a person who usually like I like to know my lines. I like for theater, I think it's less important to be off book for auditions. And if I'm ever in a spot where I'm like I'm more focused on learning the lines than making cool choices about this material, then I'll just stop and be like, stop trying to learn the lines. But if you have enough time, and luckily for this audition, I had a pretty good amount of lead-in time, I try to know it as well as I can, have the pages in hand just in case. And before I go into the room or the Zoom room or real room, whatever it is, I just try to do some deep breathing and tell myself like, I'm here to present what excites me about this material. And however they react to that is the way they're supposed to react to it. And if they like my take, that's cool. And if they don't like that take, it means I'm not the right person. And there's this actress, Denise Goff, who did People, Places, and Things. Do you guys know about her? She also did Angels in America, and she's a huge hero for me. And she has this philosophy about auditioning that I just recently learned about, but is like a complete game changer.
Mm-hmm.
And what she said is like, when you audition, yes, you're auditioning for the creative team, but you're also auditioning for the character. The character is waiting in the ether, waiting for the right body, the right performer to bring them into this material plane. And so you think about your relationship to them more so than you're thinking about your relationship to anyone else. And if you are the right person for them, there's nothing you could do in the room. There's nothing you could fumble to make for them to choose you, because they pick you. And so I'm like, I love that idea. So
that's
a really cool way to look at it.
Yeah. So when you get an audition and you feel sort of like protective over the character, that's when I know I'm onto something, because I'm like, oh, there's something in me that's connecting with this person and that wants to be elicited through me. So it might just be through auditions and callbacks, or it might be in the full production and the full project. But that's the exciting, that makes like auditioning a little bit more exciting and a little bit less scary for me.
Yeah, for sure. I love that.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know we've talked a bit about your Tony nomination, but I want to talk a little bit more about it and what that was like. Like, how are you feeling about it? What was it like hearing your name? Did you wake up and watch the nominations, or you were like, I'm gonna sleep and wake up and see what's happening?
I mean, first of all, I'm gonna say, well, so it's interesting, right? Like, when you do a show on Broadway, this is my Broadway debut.
Incredible.
Thank you. People come up to you and like tell you about the performance, and a lot of people were telling me, you're going to get nominated for a Tony. Now, in my mind, which way? Say what?
I just got chills when you said that.
Thank you. Well, good. But the thing is like, I really just couldn't take that too seriously, because I was like, in my mind, what that translated to was, you really liked the performance and you thought I did a good job. And so that's as far as I went with it. I was like, because I'm not a very awards oriented person. Like, my acting goals are not to like be an EGOT. Like my acting goals are like to be able to pay my bills and do consistently good work and work with really, really great writers and directors and artists. So I hear this and I'm like, that's very cool that they think that this is a Tony Award winning performance or Tony nomination performance. So then, people around you start to like, so like, Tony's like, is this gonna happen? Like, you know what I mean? They're sort of, gently tiptoeing around the idea. And I'm like, I don't know. And honestly, I don't care.
And it's about the work for you, right?
Say what?
It's about the work. It's about the work.
It's about like the work. I have not been on stage in 2 years, and that's what I'm there for, and that's what I'm focused on, doing the show. And so then like there was some announcement around like where I would be categorized, I guess, and I saw that and I was like, all right. And then I did know when they were going to be announced, and I was just like, this would be really cool if it happened, but I just can't put my attention there. So the day before, I took a melatonin and I was like, I'm just going to sleep and I'm going to have my normal morning.
Yeah.
I actually had to do a workshop the next day before the show for a new play. And I just did my thing. I like cleaned my room. I did the dishes. I washed my face. And then I looked at my phone and I had like 50 text messages and like 4 calls from my manager. And I'm like, I don't think that this would be like people saying, I'm sorry you didn't get
right.
At least I hope not. And then I called my manager and he was like, you're nominated for a Tony. And it was just fantastic. It was like such a cool day. It was really nice. So many people saying congratulations. It was just really sweet. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, and then I was even more excited when I found out like our director Liliana was nominated. That like ton of the designers, I think pretty much most of the designers were nominated for Tony Awards. And it was just cool that like our show that we had put so much work into and like care about so much was like being acknowledged in this way.
Yeah. Wow. You're like, I washed my face.
Well,
Just
here's
a
the
normal
thing.
day.
Here's the thing. Like, I am about like in my artistic path, like I'm about my personal relationship to my creative energy. And I don't want my relationship with my creative energy to be defined by anything outside of myself and my collaborators. So it's actually kind of like a spiritual practice for me to not be too attached to any of the results of anything I do, because I think it's really like, especially with theater, when it's a live art form and you are being in space and in communion with people, it's really like important to be pure about that and know that that interaction is the most important aspect of your work. So I'm not trying to say that I'm not grateful and that I don't love it and that I'm not psyched, because I'm all of those things. But I want to be psyched about my work when I'm not nominated for awards. I want to be psyched about my work when maybe other people aren't excited about it, because that's the life, and so that's kind of my approach.
You're
You
so
better
cool.
preach.
Yeah. I'm like, we need more artists like you who are just like pure, right?
You're doing it for the art at the end of the day. Like,
exactly. Nothing else. But
But
like,
also, like, we're on the survival job. This is your podcast is like awesome, because what I think is important is that you have to like this life can be really difficult. And it's really important that like the thing that you love most about doing this job is actually doing the job, is
right.
actually like reading scripts and learning lines and being in the room and thinking about the character. And I think like for me, centering that means that I can feel really grounded and like actually kind of chill about other stuff happening.
Right. Right. That is, I think, why we love this podcast, because we do it for the work and for the way it makes us feel. And sometimes that means after a gig having to do another survival job, because we want that opportunity to come again. And sometimes there is a beat. And to your point earlier, your goals are to pay your bills from your work. Sometimes we have to pay our bills and do whatever that, I can't speak words today, you guys. Sometimes we have to pay our bills, and whatever that means to then do the work and do the art, that's what it means.
And it has to be your priority, right? Like, I'm going to share this. Last year, I was working a serving job at the end of last year because I had funded a short film that I produced. It went way over budget. Your girl needed to pay off her credit card. And and luckily my friend Alec, who's the head bartender at this place called Patent Pending, I was like, dude, like, can I come work for you for a couple months? And he was like, absolutely. And I was able to go back to do that. And, after not having worked a quote unquote survival job for a few years, my ego was flaring up a little bit, because I was like, wow, like you can really make yourself suffer a lot by telling stories about where you should be when, and when is and like what you should and shouldn't be doing. And the fact of the matter is like, to be able to work and to be able to provide for yourself in any capacity is a huge blessing. And I'm so grateful that like whenever acting is slow, I can always call up Megan. I can call up any of my friends at one of these fabulous cocktail bars and be like, hey, can I do a couple months? You know what I mean? On the floor.
yeah.
And make sure that things are covered. And you can't have ego about that, because it is what it is. And speaking of like doing the job so that you can do the job.
Yeah.
We talked about Spin and Susan Sarandon. So my first TV gig with my now manager Bernard, who I've been with for many years, was on Ray Donovan, and my scene was with Susan Sarandon. And so in the morning, I went to this this loft in Tribeca that I think was owned by one of the founders of AOL, which means it's one of like those lofts. There was a rock climbing wall in his living room. I was just like, this is some other level of wealth.
Yeah.
And so I do my scene with Susan Sarandon, and it was really cool. She was really cool. That night, I went back to spin and was slanging hors d'oeuvres.
Yes.
That's the life.
Wow. I love that story.
Yeah.
Because it is the life.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. Jason used to say, like, when we were serving together, what did you say, Jay, when you were like on set one day? You're like, damn, yesterday I had my own trailer.
Yeah.
Today I'm serving margaritas.
Yeah, when I booked that co-star for Mr. Robot, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is
that's awesome.
Incredible, but then you're like, oh, okay, that was just one day, and you're back to doing the work so I can have more opportunities on set again,
Yeah.
So
shout out to Susan Sarandon.
Happen,
Yeah.
Oh, so sorry. I interrupted you.
That's okay. I talk over everyone all the time. I just was saying shout out to Susan Sarandon.
That's right. So, shout out to a politically active, incredible actress, queen.
Yeah.
Queen.
Well, that's so funny because that's gonna be kind of my next question. Did you read our Google Doc? I was gonna say you've worked alongside like Robin Wright and Mandy Patinkin and Susan Sarandon, among others. Do you still get? I'm not saying do you still. Do you get nervous when you are on set with these like kind of legendary other actors, or like do you feel prepared enough always that you're like, I got this. I don't care who I'm acting alongside. Like I know what I'm doing.
I think I feel, well, I used to, for sure. I was super scared on that set. But what you got to do is you got to just tell yourself, I'm here for a reason. And especially if you book a role opposite someone like that, it means that a lot of people had to say yes to you. Because if you're acting opposite the number one or the number two on a show, it means that a lot of people who have a lot of decision-making power had faith in you. And even if you don't have faith in yourself, you just got to tell yourself, they believe I'm supposed to be here, so I need to act as if I belong here, even if I don't believe it. Fake it till you make it is great advice.
Yes.
But another thing I will say is when you're working with a really, really incredible actor, you can actually be way more at ease because Jessica Hecht, who's an incredible actress, I watched a masterclass with her once, and she gave this advice, which I totally agree with, is when you're working with like a really, really heavy hitter, especially with film and TV, your job is just to listen. Your job is to listen and to be as present with them as possible. You don't have to come up with ideas. They will give you so much that if you just react naturally to what they're giving you, you're going to be golden. So if anyone out there is like booked a job and you get there on the day and you see that you're going to be acting so like opposite someone who you really admire, just know all you have to do is be there with them, because those actors on that level are giving so much just by their presence that if you just respond to that naturally, you'll be great. And also just know, like, one thing I tell myself is just be prepared. And also meet everyone like you're meeting them, like you're actually meeting them. Put aside what you know about them and about their career, and just know that in that moment you're coworkers. And and if you can just meet them on that day like a normal person, you'll be fine. Like,
because they are normal people at the end of the day.
1,000%.
We're all just humans.
Yeah, and like it's weird because we have these parasocial relationships with people who are very famous in our industry. But if you can put that aside, like, you'll be fine. Like, okay, so I have to tell the story. So
please.
like last week I went to this thing called the Drama League luncheon. And it's a very cool and crazy event, but they like have like certain seatings of who you're sitting next to. So they line you up and then you sort of parade into this ballroom and then you sit and eat lunch in front of a bunch of people. And it's very cool. And so they're lining me up And the person they seat me next to is none other than Miss Patti LuPone. And
Wow.
I nearly soiled myself. I was like, this is some next level stuff. Not to mention that the other people who are, well, actually, let me just say this. So the seating was, so there was a podium. It was Billy Crystal, Patti LuPone, me, Dee Dee O'Connell, and LaShawns. That was just one side of the podium. I'm not gonna keep on name dropping, but
yeah.
Anyways, so in that moment, I got really scared because I was like, I have been watching you my whole life. You are perhaps one of the most, like, if not the most, one of the most beloved and honored Broadway performers and performers in general alive and around right now. And I was just like, you know what? You just got to meet her just right now in this moment. And so I went up to her and I was just like, Patti, it's really cool that I'm gonna be able to have lunch next to you. And she was like, oh yeah. And we talked and she shared like her own insecurities about industry events and stuff like that. And I was just like, it was just really reassuring that someone of her stature and immense talent and grace would still feel a little bit of nerves about being in certain rooms. So
wow,
the nerves are normal and you just gotta, know that you're supposed to be there and meet people where they are.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Patti LuPone. I want to share a story with you. So my roommate was actually at that lunch. My email keeps going off. I hope you guys don't hear it. Great. So my roommate was at that lunch and I was telling him how we're going to have you on the show. He loves Shoshana Bean. Like, he is a Shoshana Bean head. He was like, oh my God, she made a funny joke about the beans all being together.
Oh yeah, it was a 3-bean salad. It was me.
3-bean salad.
It was Shoshana Bean. It was Beanie Feldstein. I couldn't not. I was just psyched that neither of them stole my joke. I was sitting there, I was like, oh, I gotta make this joke. And then I was, I had to say the Beans representation moment on stage. It was great. It was great to be there with those very
3-bean salad.
Yeah, I was there, I'm trying to just get up to that beat. Like they walked so I could run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those beans really, they got out there so that I could bring some more honor to the Bean name.
Love that. So I can't remember if we told you that we end every episode with a game. I think I did. And if I didn't, then surprise. We end every episode with a fun game. But before we do that, we do have one more question for you. Thank you for sharing this space with us. You have spit so much wisdom already. But we do want to end with asking you, do you have any advice that you'd like to share with some of our listeners or aspiring artists that you've maybe received from somebody else, or advice that you would like to share on your own?
For sure. I mean, I think the main thing is like, there are gonna be a lot of different opinions that folks give you as a young actor or as an actor at the beginning of their career, about how to make it work, how to get opportunities, how to move forward so that you can work more and more and more. A lot of like business related stuff around like how to reach out, how to have a website, how to have this, that, and the third. All of that is very important. But I want to say the most important thing is listening to this like podcast. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is figuring out how to have a life that doesn't suck outside of your acting career. You need to make sure that you have friends that support you and that who light up when you walk into the room, who like my friends have all of them, when this Tony nomination come out, we're all like, we knew it. And I didn't know it, but they knew it. And my whole, whenever I've had doubts, and those are going to happen when you have the dark nights of the soul and you're like, I don't know if I can do this crazy career. You need to have the people around you who are going to say, we believe in you. You are talented. Your artistic your artistic point of view matters. And that who are going to lift you up in those times of difficulty. You need to have a job where you don't absolutely hate going in every day. You need to do things outside of this work and outside of trying to get auditions and whatever, that really feed you as a person, because that's what allows you that when you get in the job, you can be open in the room, you can be vulnerable, you can be compassionate, and you can be truly expressive. Because if you're not, Lauryn Hill said it, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Like, you gotta do that. So my biggest advice is be relentless in your search for what feeds you, not only as an artist, but as a person, and foster that and cherish that, and make sure that your bases are covered as who you are, aside from all of your aspirations and your creative wants. And just practice as much as you can. Like, if you're not at the point where you're getting a lot of auditions, do self-tape practice. Like, find someone and just do it. Because like the main thing with auditions is you got to get the reps in. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. So if you're not necessarily at a place where you're getting a couple auditions a week, do your best to just like stay in class if you can afford it. Or if you can't do that, find a friend and shoot a scene from a show you like every week and do your take on it. Whatever you can, just to feel like you're an artist, aside from when you get the permission to be an artist, is really key.
Gabby, that's amazing. You got me tearing up, girl.
Oh.
I love that. Yeah. I just feel like I know you're ready for some reason. Like, I don't know.
Hey, listen, we're all on the same crazy ball of whatever it is, the earth ball. So we all know each other.
We're on this crazy ball. Exactly.
Can I ask you one more thing? Because I feel bad. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I know that you made a short film that you talked about very, very briefly. And I'm all about, like, I started a film festival and like I do film as well.
Amazing.
I think it's so important for
He's amazing.
Thank you. But I just think it's so important for us to highlight women filmmakers, especially Black female filmmakers. So if you want to talk about your short film, maybe where we can watch it, or like before.
Absolutely. So so the short is currently out to festivals, so we'll see where it ends up premiering. But it's a short that I wrote, and that was directed by a buddy of mine, George Nicholas. And it's a short that, so I think this is on brand for this podcast. Living in New York, you got roommates, some are good, some are bad. I had a bad 2-year run where I had some horrible roommates. And so I decided, as a way to purge that experience from my being, to make a film from the perspective of an amalgamation of a character that's an amalgamation of my 2 worst roommates. We go through a night in this man's life as he is locked out of his apartment, and we see him go through Bushwick and sort of ignore that, like, the home he's trying to get to is actually the home in all the people in the neighborhood that he is neglecting to meet on a human level. So it's a sort of a dark comedy about sort of a douchebag who is missing the point. And and so it's I'm excited about seeing where it goes, and if there's more news, I'll let you know.
Yeah, definitely. We'll share it on the podcast and on the Instagram so people can check it out.
You guys, thanks.
Yeah, of course. Okay, thank you so much for all this. You are amazing. I'm like this listening to you the whole time.
I know.
You're so wise, and you speak so intelligently and beautifully. So thank you so much for coming on. I know that you just closed the show, and so it's so nice to share space with you. And we're gonna be watching you, girl, at those Tonys.
Whew, I'm an underdog, but
we got
I don't count myself out. I never count myself out.
That's right.
But you know what? I don't win. We don't care, win or lose.
You already won.
Getting to be on that list, no one can take that away from me. I'm on a list with LaShawns, y'all.
Yes,
she is
Queens
with Didi O'Connell, with Ruth Negga, with Mary Louise Parker.
Yes.
What? Life is good.
And you know what? They're on a list with Gabby Beans. Okay?
Proof.
So there we go.
That is factually correct.
So it is factually correct. So in the spirit of the Tonys, we thought we would end the show today playing Tony Award trivia.
Ooh, I'm gonna be horrible
It's multiple choice.
And we give you lots of lifelines if you need them.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And we cheat. So we'll tell you the answers.
Okay, great.
Jay, you want to take the first one?
Yes. Okay. Just multiple choice. What year was the first ever Tony Awards? A 1897.
Nope.
B 1947. C 1977 or D 1987.
1947.
Yes. Ding, ding, ding.
Boom. See, we're off to a good start.
Thank you. That was a softball, though.
Okay, next one. True or false? The Tony Awards were named after Tony Bennett after his one-man show at the Winter Garden Theater.
No, I know that's not true, but that's hilarious. Shout out Tony Bennett. Crew.
Yeah.
Correct. 2 for 2. 2 for 2. The Tony Awards were named for Antoinette Perry, an actress, director, producer, and the dynamic wartime leader of the American theater wing.
Shouts out Antoinette.
Yes, Antoinette. Okay. Question 3. Which of these legendary actors has never won a Tony? A. Viola Davis. B. Glenn Close. C. Betty White. Or D. Whoopi Goldberg.
Betty White.
Yes, ding, ding, ding. You said you weren't going to be good at this?
I actually, you got to undersell and over-deliver.
Wait, what did Glenn Close win for?
I don't know. I knew Whoopi did.
Yeah.
And then I knew Viola did.
Ooh, because Viola.
And I know that was kind of just my gut.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do is watch the clip of Viola at the Tonys when they used to when the plays used to do monologues. When the plays used to do monologues, they would perform. Ooh, it's one of my favorite clips to watch.
Oh, I'm gonna watch that right after we get off.
Oh, I think so. I think as well. I will as well.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Jason, sorry to go off topic, but Jason was just telling me before we got on here that she is getting shit for that new show. It's making me mad.
The first ladies.
Oh, because of her depiction of Michelle Obama.
Yeah, but I just started watching it last night, and I was like, why are they like coming for her?
Nobody needs to be coming after Viola ever. By the way,
listen, in this day and age, you could get come after for like people just want to come after folks.
It's true.
And she's she does not deserve it, but like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to watch her work, and nothing can take away the fact that she is one of the most incredible actresses of our time.
Literally of all
time. And I was about to be like, and people, like I know her, but I feel like I do. I watch
like, you know her? Yeah, that's amazing.
Call her up, Viola.
It's like, put her on.
Yeah, literally. Okay, back to the game. We have one more question, then a bonus, but you're killing it. Okay, true or false? Slave Play had the most Tony nominations for a play ever with 12.
I think that's true.
Ding, 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 yeah.
And then they didn't give them any.
We were just talking about that last night, yeah.
We were talking about that last night.
Yeah, that's
wild.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Lots to unpack there. We don't
have
time for it.
A lot to unpack, so not really a quick fire fun game.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can do a follow-up episode.
Yeah.
But shouts out to that whole team because they did that. That was an incredible piece.
Yeah. It really was.
And for the bonus, which you don't need because you already got 100, but let's go for over 100. Skin of Our Teeth has how many Tony nominations this year?
6!
Yes!
Wow.
The show is currently nominated for 6 2022 Tony Awards, including Best Direction of a Play, Best Sound Design of a Play, Best Lighting Design of a Play, Best Costume Design of a Play, Best Scenic Design of a Play, and Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role of a Play.
Hey.
Gabby Beans.
Yay! Wow, you really killed that game. I'm really proud of you.
Right?
Well, see, the reason I thought I was going to do bad is because at the press event for the Tonys, they were asking me like all these questions, like if you were a musical lyric, who would you be? I'm like, Girl, I forgot all the musicals I ever saw. Like,
You
or
were a
like they were like,
musical lyric.
you could like, what's your favorite Broadway show from history? And I'm like, I have only basic answers. So I was really scared.
You're like,
I'm an off-Broadway child, okay? Like that's where I came up. You want to ask me about off-Broadway? I'm there.
Yeah.
If you were a musical
Oh my
lyric, what would
God.
you be? That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
We're gonna ask that for our next guest.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we'll
you can
steal
torture
that.
someone else with that one.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think we will.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Thank you so much for coming on. I know we've said thank you a million times, but thank you. This was amazing. I can't wait for everyone to hear this episode. I think it's a good one.
Thank you. You're welcome. This was really fun. Thanks for having me on, y'all. It's an honor that you would even deem my opinions worthy of being shared with your audience.
Thank you. Do you want to drop your socials so people can follow you if they're not following you already?
But of course. So on Instagram, I'm at Gabby Beans. Gabby, unfortunately, with one B.
I noticed that.
Yeah, because there's another Gabby Beans who is a Scottish marine biologist who beat me to the punch for the Gabby Beans on Instagram. But so I'm Gabby Beans, one B in the Gabby. And then on Twitter, I'm at Buy Any Beans.
Ooh.
Love a pun.
That. Yes.
Love a pun. And if y'all are tuning in because you're a Gabby fan and you don't follow us at Survival Jobs Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and on Facebook at Survival Jobs of Podcast. Follow my boy Jason at Jason A. Coombs.
Oh, I gotta follow y'all.
At Sammy Tuts. Yes, girl.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks, everybody. I hope this was helpful.
Yeah.